Hello everyone, and today's video is about 6 teachings from my teacher, Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh, and I am very excited to share those practices and teaching with you because they have had a profound impact in my life. So let's get started. I hope that you enjoy today's video, that you will find it helpful, but also healing. So let's go. If you are new to the channel, hi, my name is Olivier. I am a certified meditation teacher, and on my channel you will find videos on mindfulness, meditation. So if you like this kind of content, feel free to subscribe and hit the bell if you like to be notified when I upload a new video. Before we get started, I just want to share a few words about my teacher, Thai, which means teacher in Vietnamese. So Thai was ordained as a Buddhist monk at the age of 16 years old. He's now over 90 years old, so it's been 70 plus years that he has practiced mindfulness and meditation. But not only that, he had to overcome very difficult moments in his life where he had to put his practices to test, to overcome those challenges, such as the US and Vietnam War, where he lost many of his students, many of his friends, and he was also exiled from Vietnam, finding himself alone from his beloved country. So a lot of his teachings come from a very deep experience with suffering, with anger, with violence, with hatred. And so his practices, his teachings, they really focus on cultivating peace and understanding, and also this sense of connection between everything. So without any further ado, let's get started with the first teaching. Teaching number 1, stopping. The most important teaching that Thai shares about is the practice of mindful breathing, of focusing our attention on the in-breath and the out-breath. This is the foundation. And why? Because when we do that, we drop the thoughts about the past and the thoughts about the future. And in the present moment, we can touch a sense of stability, a sense of ease and peace and freedom. It's like opening the door to our experience and cultivating this sense of happiness. It sounds like an obvious practice, but I remember when I was a student having strong anxiety and panic attack, I could not stop my mind from thinking, from ruminating, and so my mind will keep me awake at night, but also make me worry during the daytime and anxious. So the practice of stopping with mindful breathing is essential and the most important teachings and the most beneficial for me. Like everybody, I search for happiness through various means, trying to be in a relationship, and traveling, going out with friends, going to restaurants, buying clothes, and so forth. But none of those experiences really provided me with a sense of sustained happiness. What I have learned is that those experiences were actually moments of joy and not happiness. And joy and happiness are different things. The common analogy is the one of a person in a desert being thirsty, and when this person sees an oasis, this person experiences joy. But when this person drinks the water, this person experiences happiness. So how do we cultivate happiness? First, we need to stop our mind from going into the future and the past, so that we can come back to the present moment. And in the present moment, we can recognize the conditions of happiness that we already have, instead of looking for conditions of happiness outside of us or in the future, which leaves a continuous sense of not having enough. But we do have enough. We just have to recognize that. The way that I practice gratitude is to simply go through my senses, to be grateful for being able to see, to smell, to taste, to touch, to listen, to hear. If any of my senses were taken away from me today, it would create a lot of suffering. So that was a game changer for me, that instead of looking through external experiences, through external stimulants, to turn my attention inward and to focus on what I have and to appreciate what I already have. And with that, I can develop a sense of peace, a sense of contentment. So happiness is a practice. It's not something that falls onto our lap. It is a practice of cultivating a certain state of mind. But also life brings its own challenges and painful moments. And so happiness is also the practice of dealing with those difficult moments. When we experience difficult, painful moments, our natural reaction is to run away from them, to distract ourselves from them, because they are painful, they are unpleasant, they are overwhelming. And so we turn on the TV, we use our phones, we open the fridge to eat something, or we use drugs and alcohol to numb those emotions. Although they can be a temporary fix, they are not a long-term solution. And what I have learned is that in order for us to transform those difficulties, we need to turn our attention inward and face those difficult emotions. But until we have some tools, it is difficult. So the practice to deal with difficult emotions is to stop and to recognize what is happening inside of us and to breathe with our experience, how difficult it is. And it takes practice. But the idea is to, at some point, find a sense of stability and peace in the middle of the storm. And that was also a game changer, because instead of running away from the feeling of loneliness, the feeling of anxiety, I had the tool now to face them and to transform them, to alleviate the suffering. If you are enjoying today's video, please let me know in the comment sections below or leave a like. And if you also have questions, also leave them in the comment sections below. The practice of mindful listening can be very impactful in your relationships. So the idea of mindful listening is that we listen with our full attention on what the other person says. Usually when we listen to somebody, our mind is running in the background. It's adding comments or judgments about what the person says. Or we think about what we will say in response to what the person shares. Listening mindfully is to drop the thoughts and concentrate on what the person says with the intention to understand the person. So one time I was teaching this practice and to my coworkers, and the idea was to practice it with our family members. So one day one of the students came and shared that he realized that he listened to his wife with the intention to be right and not to understand his wife. And that was very profound for him. And it is. It can completely change the dynamic between people. And the same with parents and children. A student shared that by practicing mindful listening with his children were more willing to listen to their parents and do as they were told. Because when we listen mindfully, we give the other person a chance to be understood. And to be understood is an essential need of human beings. And so mindful listening is a gift that we can give to others. So Thich Nhat Hanh emphasized a lot in his teachings the insight of interbeing. So what is it? We think that we are individuals that are independent from everything else, that we can live on our own. But in reality, when we look deeply, it is not true. We only exist thanks to everything that is around of us. We interact with the world around us. So say, for example, that we take the sun out of the equation of existence. Everything will die. Say we take the trees, same thing. Say we take water or the air and so forth, right? There would not be enough conditions for our existence. So we interact with the nature. In the same way, happiness and suffering, they interact with each other. When we suffer, when we bring our attention to suffering, right away we have the desire to alleviate suffering. That's probably maybe why we study meditation. And so in the suffering, when we lay our attention on it, there is already the presence of well-being, the desire to be well and to alleviate the suffering, to transform it. So suffering and happiness, they interact with each other. He talks about the lotus flower. The lotus looks very pretty, but underneath you have the mud. It needs the mud that is not as pretty as the lotus, but the lotus flower needs the mud in order to exist. So the way that the insight of interbeing has affected me is to do what I can to protect the environment, because I recognize that I can only live healthily if the environment around me is healthy. And so that has watered the seed of protecting the environment with this insight. In the same way that I was searching for happiness, I was also searching for love. But I grew disillusioned from finding happiness or love altogether. It is simply because I had no tools or no understanding of what they really are and how to get there. So for me, love was simply falling in love with somebody, but of course, it would not last, and fair relationship after one another and made me disillusioned about relationships and love. But what I have learned is that love is made of 4 components. So the first one is loving kindness, the second one is compassion, then there is joy and equanimity. Loving kindness is about developing a sense of friendliness towards ourselves and everybody else and all living beings on this planet. It is something that we train. It is something that is inside of us, but it is something that we can train to grow stronger. I will share more about it in future videos, how to develop loving kindness. Compassion, so number 2, is the desire to alleviate the suffering when we see it. Okay. So say you see like a puppy that injured their leg or something, and you have the desire to wanting to help the puppy so that they don't suffer. Joy is a cultivation of joy for ourselves, but also when somebody else is joyful, to be joyful for them is called empathetic joy. And so there is no love when we cannot be joyful for others, or we cannot be joyful for ourselves and give our joy to somebody else. And lastly, equanimity is a sense of finding stability and being able to offer the sense of stability to others when the situation is difficult. So it is one vision of love which I have found interesting to just think about it, because for me love was something very vague before, but now with those decomposition of love, I felt that I had a better grasp on how to cultivate love and how to nourish and deepen love, which before it was kind of like fog. it was vague, and so I had no idea how to approach it. But now I see love as a practice that I can cultivate. So that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope that you have enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments section below, and I will see you for the next video. See you soon.